make you get the information that you need specifically. So I'm going to open the chat, and then I'm going to turn it over to Michael Aguayu so that he can show. Let's see, he can go ahead and begin his presentation. So Michael, it's all yours. And I think what I'm going to do, let's see, I got to make sure I know what I'm doing here. Let's see, I'll record. Michael, it's all yours.
Okay, host. Well, it says host disabled presentation sharing option, so I can't share my screen. But it's okay.
Let me fix that.
Well, first of all, while she's trying to fix that, I just want to thank. I'm very honored to participate today, and I want to thank this Southern California Virtual Business Center for this invitation. You know, my primary goal is to do whatever I can to help businesses find work, at least with the federal, state government, and if not with the state, some of our partners that we have. The state has a vast variety of partners through the cities and the counties, and as well as the municipalities. Last year, we spent over $10 billion, $10.5 billion to be more precise, that we keep track of. However, all the other purchases that are made outside of our preview end up to be $100 billion. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. Some find opportunities, may not. It all depends on your business profile and what you do. And some of these opportunities come and go. So like anything else, being in the right place at the right time. And Kimberly had said it earlier in previous, is that you continue to have to network and increase your capacity to work with, at least with government. Government tries in the state of California is to ensure that small businesses have somewhere to participate, either as a prime, meaning you have the contract solely on your own, or as a subcontractor, bidding on a piece of a larger project. Because we force major contractors to provide opportunities to you as subcontractors, as small businesses. So in doing so, it's incumbent upon you as business owners to look at some of the data that we have, or at least our procurement database or site, and see what kind of contracts we have put out and determine whether or not you can fit a portion of that contract. Because we allow you opportunities to put free advertising on the state's website saying that, hey, by the way, I see you have this project. There's a small business goal. We can fill this niche in helping you meet those goals. So it does constitute some kind of work. And I think that's the reason why I'm so proud to be here today, because Kimberly and her operation has provided the platforms at a lunch and learn to learn how to do some.
I think
it does. And as I will, you can see it says state of California. Okay, so let me move my cursor to grab this PowerPoint here, and that way I can move it along so we can get this PowerPoint rolling. So, all right, so, you know, my name, of course, is Michael, and I work as a business outreach liaison for the state of California. So you see that right here, right? My contact information is there. I will put it in the chat so you don't have to worry about trying to jot it down as quick as you can, so you can have that ability to reach out to me later. All right, so the idea here is that you got to understand how the state buys. To be successful, you have to go out and determine how each institution buys their products and services. By doing so, it enables you to better meet their goals and understand what they need. Not understanding how they buy their processes really puts you at a disadvantage. So these lunch and learns will allow you to get that information from these different agencies. Now, the state buys in several different ways. One, of course, is contracts exempt from advertising. The state does not advertise everything that it goes out. So you have to know that, and you have to position your businesses to reach out in those directions, because there's a lot of things that are available to you. We have fair and reasonable, under $10,000. So anything under $10,000, of course, the state doesn't buy by going out to bid. It just calls somebody out of the database and say, hey, can you provide this product or services? And then as buyers, they have to prove that your price is fair and reasonable, and they can just award your contract and you're done. You move forward. Okay. Here's the slide that actually talks about all of that. The other thing that the state does is we have a small business DVB option. To make sure that we include small business, we allow buyers to award up to $250,000 contract. And then for public works under, 333,000, 100,000 that is. And they all have today as 2 quotes out of our database. So those of you who are certified as small, you can participate in this area without competing against the whole successful information. You got to continue to market to the presented buyers. And so it's 2 small businesses against 2 DVBEs. So it's really crucial to understand that these are the options the state has, and to understand how you position yourself to be a part of those. Finally, emergency purchases. Emergency purchases are also not something that is advertised. We do have an emergency purchasing database through different firms, like Cal Fire has one for their fires. So when they need something, meaning they can't be hunting around trying to get quotes, they just automatically call somebody that can provide the services that they have and award accordingly. Unfortunately, they don't have to go to a small business, although we implore them to do so if they have the small business that's in the site or on their website that they can reach out to that can provide the services that are needed. But they're not required to do so under this particular action. But they're doing their best they can to ensure that small businesses participate. So it's really important that you understand that and reach out to the agency, Parks and Recs. If needed, they just do emergency purchases in those times of need. Everything that we do is housed here on our Cal eProcure website. For the state of California, you can find all the information I'm speaking on and much more if you know that this is the place you need to be. Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you is, and we had talked about it, is being contract ready. All right, so contract ready, what I want you to understand is that you have to make sure when you're going out to bid your core business. This is what I am, a seamstress. So I'm on, seamster, is that the term for a man? Okay, whatever it is. I do sewing. So if my core business is that, and then I say that, hey, I'm going to bid on an asphalt contract, that doesn't quite fit. And the state will automatically kind of have red flags everywhere. So you got to make sure that your core business fits the business strategy of what the state is looking for in that particular situation. Now, are you positioned to respond? And what that means is, do you have the right certifications? Be it that a small business, disabled veteran business, hazardous material, you are a certified accountant, all those things have to be in place to make sure that you are ready to respond. So those are the things that you need. Now, do you understand what I need? What are my issues? By doing so, you can better fulfill my needs and most likely position yourself to win the contract. The thing about the state of California, though, you have to have financial capacity, and you're going to find that anywhere that you're doing contract with, especially in the public sector. Now, in our case, what happens is that the state doesn't pay you, well, it pays you as quick as it can. And some agencies pays you a lot faster than what the state does. The state can eventually make you a lot of money, but you have to be financially ready to be able to bid on things. And the reason being is the state has a 45-day payment clause in it. We'll pay you within 45 days of the undisputed invoice. And if you are a small business, we don't pay in that time frame. We'll pay you late penalty payments if we can't pay you in that timely manner. So what that means is that you're buying supplies, you're paying your employees, so you have to waive that particular period before you get paid by the state. Now, if the contract is large, we may have what they call incremental payments. You finish this part of the contract, we'll pay you. We finish that much, we'll pay you. In most contracts, you don't get paid until the work is done. So you just need to know and to make sure that you read. Now, you have to deliver. Capacity, as you had put out, Rachel, is really important. When you get a state contract, like I said, you can make a lot of money doing state work, but you have to believe, you have to be be able to deliver on those contracts. If you can't deliver, you better know that, and don't get yourself into a place where, hey, look, I just want to get state businesses now and I'll worry about everything else later. I just want to get in the door. Well, once you're in the door, we're expecting that you already know what you're doing before you came in. And it's all right to peek in, but not come in. That's the thing about having our website, to allow you to look at things before you decide to jump in. But once you jump in, you're already in the deep water. So I just want to make sure you understand that. All right, so this is pretty much what the bottom bullet is what's really important. The state has different levels on how we buy. Now, if you're doing the non-advertised bid of fair and reasonable under 10,000, the risk levels aren't very high. One is a dollar threshold is low. Two, it's a one-on-one transaction. But as the levels of how we buy, well, it gets down to, for instance, our most difficult level. I wouldn't say our most difficult, but one of the hardest levels to crack is into the request for proposals. Now you're proposing what you're going to do for us. You're proposing the cost that it's going to cost us. Now the risk level is higher, because you're telling us this is how you're going to do it. This is how much we got to pay. We agree. You accept a lot of risks. The dollar values are a lot higher. So you got to remember that, getting into different contracts have different levels of risk. So understanding that will provide you with the ability to get into contracts where you'll be successful, and you can move up the levels as we go. Now, the thing about being contract ready is, in the state of California, what we allow past performance. If you have past performance on doing something that you have experience in, but have not done state contracts, we will accept past performances if you can prove that you have satisfied customers everywhere, other places. So it does not eliminate you from being new to doing state business, as long as you can prove that you have the experience to do so. Okay, so that's where I wanted to make sure that you understand. So a lot of people say, look, I've been business for a very long time, never had any state contracts. Well, can I still compete? Of course you can. All right, so in state contract, in any public sector, one of the biggest things that you have to understand is always ask questions. Don't wait till last minute till your bid is due and then ask the question. Then you got to do all this extra work, and then you may miss your due deadline. But during the question and answer period, there is a question and answer period for all state contracts, and then all the public areas do. They give you 10, 15 days prior to bid closing, or you can ask questions. What happens is, when you ask questions, some of those questions may change the way the solicitation is written, because as a buyer, I might have missed something, or I gave you a word that says must, and you say, based on this information, it should be shall, can or may not. So what we'll do is we'll change the solicitation based on the questions that you provide, and then we'll promote a addendum to where we change all the language, and then we start all over the process. So that's really crucial, that if you don't understand or you don't think it's right, always ask questions, always present information. That way it can help you as a buyer, or not a buyer, as a seller for the buyer, to make sure that your inquiries, and always get that in writing. Get your answers in writing, okay? It's not that the people will tell you wrong answers, but if you have to go back and prove that, hey, look, this is what he said, I have 20 days to put in my bid, and you're telling me I only have 10. Well, if you got it in writing, then we'll have to change everything. So get everything in writing, okay? All right, so prior to bidding, one of the things you have to have, especially on any database, you have to keep your profile updated. Many times we have opportunities that we send forward to businesses like yourselves, and what has happened is your email address has changed. Or if you had an employee and they were monitoring your email box, they have left, and all your email is now following them. So we've had that in the past. People are asking me, Michael, I'm not getting any emails. We look into it. Well, the employee that left went to work somewhere else. They're getting all the business contacts. So those things you want to keep updated. Any moves, telephone numbers. We find that there's a lot of misinformation that can help us reach out to you. Okay. All right. So the big thing about the state is we have a commercial useful function platform, and it basically just says, if you go through all of these little things, is that you have to perform on the contract. You cannot be a pass-through for any contract. Understand that, know that, that if you're winning the contract, you're doing some of the work. You just can't take some of the money and give it to somebody else to do. Okay, so just understand that. So um, the thing that here is one of the biggest mistakes, and we'll go over that, is basically your math. But prior to bidding, is the thing is that we have is that people just some of our contacts or businesses don't read the whole contract or at least the solicitation. By doing so, you have missed something that in there that may prevent you from winning contracts. Now, here's 12 mistakes, or at least the top 10. It should have been top 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, top 10 mistakes that we find that bidders make. If you see this, and I'll send this out as an attachment, by not doing these things, you can increase your chances by 50%. All right. So one of the things that you have to remember is to sign all the documents. State of California and many rental, like if you go to car rental, you're buying a house, whatever the case may be, there's multiple documents you have to sign. It's not always the case. You go down to the very end, you sign the last page and you're good to go. No, there's a lot of places where you got to initial that you saw it. That's the same way with the state. If you miss those pages, then of course we throw you out your bid, despite the fact you might be the lowest bidder. In anything, if we request you return, we give you all this information, we request that you return all of it back. So that's one of the things. One of the biggest forms is you may not need it or you may not want it, but you have to return it that you saw it. The thing with the state is we have deadlines, the huge deadlines. You don't meet the deadlines, then of course your bid is thrown out. Our deadline is in our office. So you can't say that and I've done this, where I get to the post office, I date stamp the envelope, and then I take it home, I put my stuff in it, and then I send it off. Well, the state stamp on the envelope doesn't count. It's the date stamp that we stamp it in our office when it arrives. So just be advised that you have to meet the deadline as posted. Now, one of the biggest things that I tell everybody, and some of you already know this because we spoke before, is that people ignore the historical information that we provide for you. We give you the cost, the price that we bought it for last. We give you the departments that bought it. There's so much information in the historical database that it will provide you who you should market to, what price you should have when you go on to bid. A lot of that's in there. You just need to make sure that you've checked it out before you end up bidding. One is because many people bid way above the cost, and then some people bid low below the cost that we bought it for last. So you're losing money on that. The other side previously talked about math. If you put that decimal point in the wrong place, it went from $100 to $1,000. We've seen that mistake a lot. And in some cases, the contract administrator just takes your price. So it's like, okay, we're going to take it from, or in this case, 10 cents as opposed to 100. So you just got to make sure you check your math. Use peer review. One of the biggest things that you should have is peer review. If you have somebody in your office, if you work with somebody, if you don't have somebody, I'm sure that Kimberly can find you some avenues to have somebody help you. There's a lot of resources out there. In our case, we ask you about bonding and licensing. You got to have those all updated and provide those documents that you are. One of the things that the state requires that you cannot substitute any contracted items that we may buy from you. So if we order bottled water that is 16 ounce, but let's say you're going to give us 24 ounce bottles. It might not work for us. One is because where we store it, the bottles are too big, won't fit. So you just can't substitute an item without getting permission first. Then your contract becomes null and void, and we hold you to the consequences thereof. Might be a penalty for you. All the solicitations have directions embedded in them. I implore you, please read. And if you can't read because the font is too small, let us know. We'll send it to you in a bigger font. If we can do that, we're trying to make sure that everybody gets what they need. Or have somebody else read it for you in your office if you're busy, but you have to make sure you read. because there's clauses in there that sometimes we put in there that you miss, and then before you know it, you're in a hole. One of the biggest failure for us or you as bidders is that when we say earlier is about returning all your documentation, there's one form in there. It's called the recycled content form. When I said a bottle of water, you're going to say, oh yeah, it's the bottle is made from recycled content, 20%. However, there's some things that don't have recycled content. Let's say you're a contractor that does what is it? You provide advice. You're it'll come in my mind. I just can't get the term right.
Consultant?
Thank you very much. I was looking for the word. I appreciate it. Let's say you're a consultant. I wouldn't think you have any kind of recycled content in you. Maybe you do. I don't know. But we were asking about your consultant firm. If there's no recycled content, you got to put no and send it back. If you don't send it back and you don't answer, believe it or not, a lot of people don't. And we automatically throw out your bid just because of that one little form. It's terrible, but we have to find out if there's recycled content because required by law to make sure that we capture all the data. And finally, if in request for proposals, we ask you to separate your price from your proposal. That's why I say the more complicated things get, the more money you can make, but then there's more chances you can make mistakes. So there's a lot of risk value there. So you send in your proposal. Here's how we're going to do everything. We review your proposal. Oh, we like the way the building looks. We like the way your IT presentation is. And then we look at your price. So that's how it works. It's difficult. The way we evaluate things, we tell you how we do it. So it's not something that you should be caught in the dark for. And if you're in the dark, remember, ask those questions so we can turn on the light for you. Okay. The last thing that I wanted to make sure is that all of you are business owners, and I know all of us, especially that I know a lot of the people that reach out to me. Unfortunately, this COVID time has presented some really difficult challenge. One is everything is done virtually. It's not like you used to do before where you go, hey, look, can I make an appointment and talk to you? Well, yeah, you can, but it's all on a virtual nature. There is no big events where you can meet and hand out business cards or capability statements. Everything is done on a virtual platform. For a guy like me who was an analog person living in a digital world, it is a difficult thing that you have to overcome. And that's one of the biggest things that businesses seem to fail at, is that not filling out the resources that they have available to you. Many of the things are now available, and the Lunch and Learns are probably going to have these topics later on. How to set up a Google business platform or whatever platforms that may need so that you can still present your business. And if you can't do business in person, find an avenue of how to sell it online. Through Amazon or whatever else may be available out there. So there's different platforms in this day and age that that you need to look at. We still, as a state, we're kind of behind the technological curve. We are, though. We have an event coming up next week, Monday. It's strictly for veterans, but we're putting on virtual events now where we're having a virtual theater, a virtual meeting spot, virtual booths. So we are experimenting with those. The first one, this is going to be the second one. It's going to be on Monday. It's actually for the Veteran and Business Network. But if you want to see how that all works, well, no, don't even go there because they're charging people to come in. I'll try to find you some other places where you can get in for free and experience what these things are like, so that when you go the next time you're ready to do your virtual handouts of your capability statements and how to meet some of the suppliers. So this is pretty much what I want to go over with you, is that this is a lunch and learn opportunity. What are your challenges? What are the things that I can help you with? My function is to try to do the best I can, or at least provide you with the contacts you have here available. I can't stress how important these lunch and learns are. I mean, there's basically short platforms to provide information, and hopefully you can parlay that into dollars in your pocket. What I wanted to present to you today is just give you an idea on how the state buys, so that when you pursue state contracts, you're ready, or at least have information on how to proceed. So hopefully I've done that to this point and give you some hints on what you can do to better position yourselves when trying to do state contracts. So I provide this short presentation uh, to the Southern California Virtual Business Center. I got that one down. So that you can at least look at it and see if you have any more questions moving forward. But it's not easy. I can tell you that right now. Doing business with government, it takes a while to get yourself in. The California State University of Sacramento, they did a study for us to try to find out why business fails so often. Some of those points that I have on the screen is there now. The other ones are simple. One is this: businesses give up. They just give up and they don't keep pursuing. The other is, two, is that you don't find out what mistakes that you've made. It's something that we need to do as individuals, is to go back and reassess where we're at, where we want to go, and what mistakes we are trying to get to somewhere else. My recommendation is you use the platforms you have here, the lunch and learns, the experts like Kimberly and her people that she can reach out to. Because if anything else, I teach my kids. I'm a softball coach for girls 18 and under. We travel the country, and what I try to teach them is life lessons through sports. But one of the life lessons that I want to impart to you is that follow somebody that's already been where you're at, or get the information from people that already have it. Because there's no sense making the same mistake twice if you know that somebody already made that mistake or going where you want to be. Ask those questions from them. Most people are willing to share some information, but these lunch and learns are the platform for you to do so. So if you have more questions moving forward, you got to ask those questions. Look, and that's one of the things that we found as a failure rate, is that businesses don't find out what they did wrong with their bid in the first place. Was it my price? Did I forget to sign something? Did I forget to submit something? By doing so, here's what we found out by that survey that we did from the businesses owners and the completion rate, is that businesses it takes 7 to 10 tries for businesses to succeed. And that's without getting any help. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep going. But what we found out, that businesses who found the information, go to the right place, or have won a contract with the state of California, the chance of you winning a contract again with the state has increased from 1 in 7 to 50-50. And the reason being is you found the answers that you need to be successful. What is it that you need? You need a business plan. Kimberly and her organization can help you with that. You may need financing. If they can't provide it, I have that. You might need somebody to look over your contracts before you bid, just to make sure it's all set. We have those capabilities, and I'm sure that your organization has that information that you can share with them. I'm sure that, Kimberly, because I know how successful your organization is. So in all of this, I just want to make sure that you understand that there is resources for you to use, take advantage of them, and position yourself to where you don't make somebody else's mistake, and learn from those so that you can hop over that and move forward at a faster speed. That's pretty much what I have to say in regards to why I thought I was here today. Hopefully you found some information very valuable. If there's some questions I did not hit, by all means ask them. I'll try to do my best to answer them. This is supposed to be a two-way communication. And like I said earlier, a virtual platform is really hard to do when you're trying to look at people's faces to see if they're, Michael, I don't understand what you're saying. You got to submit those questions or speak up. One of the way, either way works for me. I'm pretty easygoing. And like I said, I'm an old school kind of guy. I like to talk to people.
Michael,
my boss is always mad at me because I'm always calling her. And I'm not emailing. Well, why don't you email me? Because this is faster.
Michael, can you share your screen that shows your contact information, and also show the website for the Department of General Services, where businesses can go to learn more information about the contracting opportunities?
You know what? I don't have a slide for that.
Okay.
I'm going to have to do that and put one together. I'll put one in the chat, or I'll send it to you.
I will put it in the chat.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'll do that. I'll put my contact information. Let's see. How do I access the chat?
Just click on chat at the bottom.
I don't have a chat at the bottom of my screen.
Uh-oh.
But hey, like I said, let me see if I can't find a chat. I see all your faces. Well, I don't see, some are locked out. So, how you doing there, Anna?
I'm going to request control back from you.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay.
Let me say approve here, and I'll get that information in your chat as soon as I find out where that chat button is at.
Okay.
So, anybody has questions, concerns? I know I spoke to many of you before.
So I think let's see, I'm checking the chat just to see. Let's see, there's a question here. Is there a particular structure that a business has to be in order to do business with the state? Meaning, can you be a sole proprietor? Do you have to be a corporation, etc.?
No, you can be a sole proprietor of one. We have businesses that have started out small. We had one lovely young lady who was a music teacher. So she was herself. What she did is parlayed her ability to teach music to teach people in some of our hospitals. We have, I hate the word institutions. That's not a good word to use. We have hospitals that have kids in it, and she came in and taught the music. She has now grown a little bit and has more music teachers. But the fact is, the bottom answer is you don't have to be a corporation. You don't have to be, you can be small as one or big as other. It all depends on the solicitation that you're trying to bid on. The bigger the contract, of course, the bigger you have to be. But there's contracts out there for smaller businesses like yourselves. It's just not easy to find. And many of those contracts are subcontracted. You're providing subcontracting opportunities via your capabilities, whether it be consulting, I got that word right this time, or products that you may provide. For instance, for a while there, we were needing PPE, personal protective equipment, masks, gowns, gloves, and many of the businesses that we were buying from for our offices, because each offices were buying on their own. That's something else you need to understand too, is the state has over our 200 offices, and each office has the ability pretty much to buy their own products and their services. Of course, getting authorization to do from my office first. But they may reach out to you from different angles, or you, in your case, I suggest that you find out who those businesses are buying, who those departments are buying from, and what they are buying, and position yourself to call them to make sure that you're on their radar moving forward. But again, going back to your answer is no. You can be small, very small. Is there any other questions?
So James just put in the chat information about viewing the state of California's procurement opportunity. You can visit caleprocure.ca.gov. And then there's a question that came up that asks, how do we find out info on the state's past purchases?
Okay, so we do have that. It's on the Cal eProcure website. In fact, everything is on there. If you're looking at the Cal eProcure website, and I'll send you the link. I just got to figure out how to get into this chat here.
Click chat at the bottom, Michael, or take your mouse to the bottom, your chat should come up.
Well, see, that's the problem. The very bottom, I have 4 people on the bottom of mine. I have
Okay.
King,
You probably just need to move something around.
He's doing analog.
I love you too.
Let's
Let
see.
me see if I have speaker view and it allows me. No, that doesn't work.
There's another question while we're looking for that. Let's see here. It says.
Okay. Well, if you go to Cal eProcure and you go to there's 4 giant buttons at the top. On the very right-hand side, if you're looking at your screen, it's you click on that button and it's the 4th bullet down. It says State Contract Procurement Registration System. That's where you'll find all of our historical information. As a matter of fact, if you click the button in the middle, it opens up a menu. We have resources for you. There's a whole. We have videos, PowerPoints. They're all available to you. It was not a part of this presentation, but.
Someone asked the question, Michael, how can small contractors team up to bid on opportunities too big to go after individually.
Okay, so I found the chat. Thank God. There we go. See, waiting room. There's 2 people in your waiting room, by the way.
Oh, if you press admit, they can come in. You had control at the moment.
So you have Marisol and Nikki. Anna. Okay, there. Okay, so let me see. The biggest thing about participating is, one, on our state procurement registration system or Cali Procure, you're looking for opportunities. Sometimes those opportunities don't present themselves right up front. You got to look at what the opportunity itself and say, oh, look, they're building a 32-story building in Riverside, California. Does that pertain to you? Yes, it can, depending on what your business does. For instance, we got to put blinds, curtains in there. We have to put kitchens, microwaves, all kinds of stuff going in the building, including IT software and hardware and everything else. So in that, what you'll end up doing is you'll click on that solicitation and you put free advertising. You just got to click on it, and in there it says, do you want to add an ad? The process is pretty simple. It's a 3-step, well, actually, it's only a 2-step process. You just say yes, and then it'll put you into a box, and you just fill out how to contact you and why you're so valuable, so that the prime contractor can reach out to you. There's also a function on the Cali Procure website to where you can see everybody who looked at that solicitation once you opened it up. By doing so, you can reach out to the major primes directly and say, hey, instead of looking at my ad, yes, I'm going to put that in. Of course, I implore you to do so. But you can reach out to them personally and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I can do. And I have added value for why you want to participate with me. So all of that is available to you by using our Cal eProcure website. Now, this is not necessarily, I did not bring all that information with me. I'm glad you're asking. I do have a presentation on all of that, which I can provide Kimberly. It's a PowerPoint. If I can send it to her or all of you, I'll send that out, and then you can peruse it accordingly. But I will definitely get you the links. Now I just got to figure out.
If you'll send it to me, Michael, then everyone who registered, I can forward it to them.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, so they'll have the information.
Right.
We have another question that asks, how do you present new technologies to the state?
Now that's a difficult one. The state is very, I'm trying to find a word that will be more appropriate in this. We're pretty stiff. When it comes to new technology, the state's not necessarily readily open for new technology. What they end up doing is that we end up looking out to say, okay, it's new, it's being used by somebody else. In other words, somebody else has tested it out. Whether it be another city, county, or entire state. Oh yeah, look, the state of Texas is using this platform. It works. We don't tend to have the openness at this point in time. Not to say that we don't. It's a little bit more difficult because the state of California wants to make sure that when they go into a project, it's a viable project that has proven that it works prior to trying to get into looking at something new, and then we be the guinea pig to make sure that it actually works. We're really cognizant of trying to save the state's businesses like you who pay taxes, all of us citizens. We don't want to get into something that's not going to work, and then we wasted all that time and energy and money that we use taxpayer money to look at. So that's really difficult. I just want to make sure new technology is not easily accepted within the state. Not that we don't look for it, but we're not the guinea pig that we want to be in most cases. You can still try. I'm not saying don't try. What we need to do is that whatever your new technology is, we got to go reach out to the persons that may be looking for it and provide them with the option to look at your technology to see if it would be acceptable use for the state. So it's not easy, but it's not, what I want to say, impossible. It just needs a little bit extra massage.
Hey, Kimberly, there's another one from Janice. It says, is the state open to who holds the prime role And she says, we went after a community college project recently requiring a new building and interiors. As a WBE, we could have provided the prime role as supported by City of LA, through which we are certified. The community college rejected this idea, so we could not bring our team / proposal to the competition.
Well, the state is different than, in our case, if you can provide the products and services, you're certified to do so, you have the capability to do so, the state is willing to look at your business and take your bid. Now, you have to meet all the pre-qualifications. You went to a city college. Apparently, it wasn't anything that we were doing. So they rejected you on some form or fashion. My recommendation is you reach back and write them and say, hey, look, why did you reject me? Get that rejection in writing. You definitely, like I said earlier, want to get stuff in writing. The other thing that you can do, and I'm not saying this is proponent and you should go do that. In all public agencies, you can have the right to protest. I don't know what their protest procedures are, but if you feel you were unduly wrong for whatever the reason, you have the right to go find out why and figure out, hey, why did you decide that we weren't capable enough? What prevented us from participating in this? So that one or two things, you can provide yourself to be in a better position the next time, or prove to them that they were wrong in the first place, and hopefully they do something about it moving forward. I mean, I get wronged a lot in some cases, and I have to go back and say, hey, look, man, that's not right. And I try to fight on your behalf as small businesses within the state of California too. When you come to me and say, Michael, that's not right, I go back up the chain of command. I said, look, based on what I understand, what they have provided, what you did may not be fair. So let's take a look at it again. So it's like I said earlier, asking questions, be forceful and polite enough to where they don't. And that's the biggest key. Some people aren't good at it. In some cases, I may not be, because I tend to tell the truth, whether it's good or bad, because I figure if you do that, then you've done the best you can.
Yeah, I think on that question too, Mike. You can respond if you don't win the contract. That is in the contract. That probably page 155 of the contract? Yeah. And that's why it's important to attend the mandatory / sometimes not mandatory information session. They also give you probably maybe a week or two of question and answering, so you can ask, hey, can I take over? This is my company. Can I be the prime on this? Does my company qualify? And they will get back to you, even if they, they may not understand right away, but they will get back to you because they have note takers that are taking notes. Mm-hmm. And so all your questions, all the questions that are asked at the different meetings, mm-hmm. are actually put into a database, and they put it back into the contract with amendments.
With amendments. Yeah, addendums. We call them addendums, amendments, addendums. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the reason why I said earlier when I was speaking on is that, at least with the state, I know that when we have construction bills or other bills, we do have mandatory pre-bid meetings, and that's for the larger bills. So that larger primes have to come in, or if you want to be a prime, you have to attend to come to bid. If you don't attend the pre-bid conferences, mandatory pre-bid conferences, then you cannot move forward. And that's something that you have to know. Some of our bids, at least for the state of California, require you to participate. And many agencies, and those are the larger contracts, so prime contracts. So in your area, if you're trying to bid in Sacramento, you got to send somebody all the way to Sacramento. If you don't, you can't move forward and you can't bid moving forward in the competition phase. Now, we do, and I said this earlier, always submit questions in writing. There's always a contract administrator assigned to many contracts, especially in the public space. There's somebody overseeing it, somebody responsible for it, and they're usually listed as you had put out there on the 121st page, and usually second to the last page, or if not in the very beginning. That's the person you want to reach out to. You put it in writing, they're supposed to answer in writing. They don't answer in writing in a timely manner, then you have recourse to go back and say, hey, look, I asked this question, but you didn't answer me. How can you award a contract moving forward? So there's things that you can do as bidders. And if we're recording this, I plead the fifth moving forward if anybody asks. But
well, in that case, let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, we don't want you pleading for
You said, one of the questions is, you said contracts are usually paid 45 days later. If contracts require upfront payments made to suppliers, products, etc., should you put in the contract asking for payments made in stages, or do we need to spend the money while waiting for payment?
well, that's the thing. In the contract, it will state most contracts are paid after the product and our services have been delivered. And that's the reason why we were saying earlier that you have to have the capabilities of doing, not the capability, what was the term? Capacity. You have to have the capacity to perform. So in some cases, and that will be in the solicitation itself, that they will do increment payments based on the platform or how large the bid is or what we're looking for. For instance, food. We don't expect you're going to ship all the food that we require at one given time. We might, but in most cases, they're going to say, okay, look, we've got 1 million apples. We want 250,000 next month, 250,000 next week, and then whatever the case may be next year. But so you have to make sure that you understand that we're only going to pay you within those increments. You deliver these, we pay you that. You deliver that, we pay you that. But in many contracts we have, we pay you at the end. You're done, we pay you. And that's the reason why you have to have the capacity to perform by having several things. One, a line of credit with the bank, right? 2, cash money somewhere that you can overlap to pay your employees and your debts that you may have for buying those apples. And then finally, if you don't have any of those, you better have a rich relative sitting around in your back pocket that you can go out and say, hey, look, I need a little loan and I'll get you back as soon as the state pays me, because we're going to pay you. And if we don't pay you on time, we're going to pay you extra. The problem is you don't want to wait that long to pay extra, nor do you want to wait 45 days if we can meet. There is a caveat to all of this, though. If the state has the capability of paying you, because we have what we call a Cal card, basically it's the California Visa card. So if we're buying products or services, we can actually pay you via Visa. So you provide the good, we pay you Visa, done, you're out the door. I got my money, you got your money, I got my stuff, we're done. What you need to do is ask those questions if it's not already presented in the solicitation itself. Hey, are you guys having Visa payments, or are you going to do increments payments? So there should be all outlined in the solicitation. But if you don't see it and you think it should be in there, that's the time you should be asking those questions. Like James was saying earlier, ask the question. They're going to say, oh, you know what? Maybe we should do that. We didn't think about it, but we should do that. So let's change and add an addendum, because it's going to only help small businesses participate by hearing some of the concerns that you have. And that's what's so important for you, is to understand that you have the capabilities, no matter how small you are, to have big change and impact on some of these state contracts by just not being afraid to say, hey, you know what? I want to be included. But in order for me to be included, I need you to help me with this. They may say, no, we can't, because whatever the factor is. But by not asking, you'll never know. What is that old axiom that the military used to say? I think Clinton put that in his administration for military people. If you don't ask, we won't tell. So if you don't ask, you'll never know the answer. It's one of those things that I try to teach the kids. Do not be afraid to ask, because the answer may be no. But at least you know. Walking away and never knowing the answer, that's going to eat you up over time. Man, maybe I should have asked. Maybe I should have did this. But you know what? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I can tell you, man, they'll eat you up alive. I've been there, and you don't want to go where I've been.
Okay.
So ask questions and seek help. Kimberly, James, this organization, I can't stress it enough. When you guys, people willing to help you, make them put their, what is that? Put their
money where the mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you say you want to help. This is the help I need.
Well, I have to say thank you, Michael. I think we are definitely working hard on behalf of our small business.
Oh, yes.
We certainly appreciate you and the work that you do to support our small businesses. Um, so I want to say thank you to you for your presentation. Thank you for all of our participants for visiting our first Lunch and Learn. Our second Lunch and Learn will be on the third Wednesday of this month. Please visit us online at scvirtualbusinesscenter.com to learn more about our upcoming programs, as well as our schedule of events, and as well as our different programming. So thank you guys so much again for joining, and have a wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.